I do not think now I will have to pay anybody anything.
You're probably right. I haven't got a match.
Don't go any...
All right, go on, get him up. Go on. Go on, pull your guns. Go ahead. Go ahead, get him out. Go ahead, try it. We're gonna get it anyway.
Harry, don't.
You've been pushing me around long enough.
Humphrey Bogart brought an unmistakable power and excitement to the screen. Men admired his world-weary toughness. Women sensed that underneath lay an innate tenderness. On the screen and off, Humphrey Bogart had a style that set him apart from his fellow actors. And this is the story of the man called Bogart, one of the most unforgettable personalities in the history of Hollywood and the stars.
Good evening, I'm Joseph Cotton. Welcome to Hollywood and the Stars. For half a century, movies have stirred our emotions and shaped our dreams. They have become a part of us. And so, too, have the legends of Hollywood's great stars. Compelling personalities whose names conjure up adventure, laughter, and romance, like Garbo, Gable, Marlon Brando, and Elizabeth Taylor. Tonight, the story of one of the greatest of them all, the man called Bogart.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine. What's that you're playing?
Oh, just a little something of my own.
Oh, stop it. You know what I want to hear.
No, don't.
Played it for her, you play it for me.
Well, I don't think I can remember.
If she can stand it, I can. Play it.
Yes, Paul.
Certain stars are unique and unforgettable. No one could appreciate that more than Humphrey Bogart's good friend and great director, John Huston.
I think that he's probably a greater star today than he was at any time during his life. That's a unique position shared just by one or two others. Cooper, Gable, perhaps, Bogart.
Born in New York in 1899 on Christmas Day, Humphrey DeForest Bogart is the son of a prominent surgeon. The screen's future tough guy is raised among the cultured and genteel upper middle class. Bogart's mother, Maud, is a famous commercial artist, and her baby Humphrey is her favorite model. Her portrait of Bogart at the age of 1 is widely circulated throughout the nation and will bring him his first taste of fame. Over the years as a commercial model, little Humphrey Bogart gazes angelically from the pages of national magazines in advertisements for a popular baby food. By the time he's 18, Bogart rebels against his sheltered home life and joins the Navy during World War I. After the war, at 21, Humphrey Bogart decides to become an actor because, he says, "I was born to be indolent, and this was the softest of rackets." During the 1920s on Broadway, Bogart usually plays a romantic juvenile in drawing room comedies. And reportedly, he is the first actor to utter the immortal line, "Tennis, anyone?" Bogart fails to achieve stardom on the stage, and in private life, he fails in 2 short-lived marriages. But in the midst of these discouraging years on Broadway, He appears as a lady killer in his first film in 1929. Made in New York and starring Ruth Etting, it is only an 8-minute Vitaphone short. And like most trivia of its kind, it soon winds up in studio vaults, forgotten, even by film historians. But this one-reeler marks the beginning of one of the great careers in motion pictures. Hollywood in the early 30s is in the midst of the transition to sound pictures, and many Broadway-trained actors like Humphrey Bogart get a chance in talkies. Bogart, however, is given dreary roles in nearly a dozen minor epics, like 3 on a Match.
Say, you got a nerve busting into my flat like this? Get out!
Uh-oh. Go on, get in that room and shut up.
You mustn't hurt my mama.
Okay. I'll bear that in mind.
Bogart is a flop in Hollywood, and the studios write him off as just another mediocre actor. Returning to New York, Bogart finally lands a talked-about part in a hit play, The Petrified Forest, a part that Hollywood wants Edward G. Robinson to recreate on the screen. But the play's star, Leslie Howard, refuses to appear in the picture unless his friend Humphrey Bogart can again portray the role of Duke Mantee. Knowing that this is his last chance for success in Hollywood, Bogart will perform with a vengeance.
Just keep in mind that I and the boys is candidates for hanging. The first time any one of you makes a wrong move, I'm going to kill a whole lot of you. So keep your seats.
Tell us, Duke, what kind of a life have you had?
What do you think? I spend most of my time since I grew up in jail. It looks like I spend the rest of my life dead.
You're the last great apostle of rugged individualism.
Maybe you're right, pal.
Overnight, Bogart has become a sensation, but not a star. He is signed as merely a supporting player, the sinister heavy, and the top salaried stars at Warner Brothers, James Cagney and Edward G. Robinson, will bump him off in picture after picture.
You're too used to a machine gun, Turkey. You might miss somebody with that pea shooter. I've been aching to fill you full of slugs. You double clutch.
You thought I'd yell copper, huh? Well, I never did that in my life and never will. If I want anything done, I do it myself.
Eddie! Crazy! Eddie, no! Oh, Eddie!
One rap, you won't, please.
Crazy!
Bogart takes this kind of fate philosophically. He says, when the heavy, full of crime and bitterness, grabs his wounds and talks about death, the audience is his and his alone. Bogart becomes a master delivering these farewell addresses.
Do me a favor, will you? Don't tell him that a dame tripped me up. Will you?
Tell Jameson I come back. Tell the cons to play ball with him. He's a swell.
This is it, I guess. That's okay with me. The kid deserved a break. Well, I care. You can't live forever.
Bogart regards most of his films as mediocre affairs. A proud and sensitive man, he now wants to become a serious actor, but he finds himself fighting futilely against roles far beneath his talents. Off-screen, Humphrey Bogart begins to emerge in the 30s as a flamboyant character. Actress Mayo Maytho is his third wife, and their friends call them the Battling Bogarts during their turbulent 6-year marriage. An enemy of sham and hypocrisy, Bogart openly prides himself on his prowess with the bottle. He rates himself with Winston Churchill and Errol Flynn as among the mightiest drinkers of the decade. Bogart says the only reason for making money is so he can tell some big shot to go to hell. And he publicly calls one studio boss a creep. But in 1941, Bogart finally gets what he wants from his studio. A starring role in a first-class film, The Maltese Falcon. Directed by his friend John Huston and aided by Sidney Greenstreet, Peter Lorre, and Mary Astor, Bogart breathes fire into the role of Sam Spade, a cynical, immoral private eye.
10,000? We were talking about a lot more money than this.
Yes, sir, we were. This is genuine coin of the realm. A dollar of this, you can buy $10 of talk. And there are more of us to be taken care of now.
Well, that may be, but I've got the falcon.
I shouldn't think it would be necessary to remind you, Mr. Spade, that you may have the falcon. But we certainly have you.
This is the turning point in Bogart's career. Through the sheer force of his talent, he has proven that he is not merely an actor. After all these years, he has become a star. During the war, with most of Hollywood's dashing leading men in service, Bogart gets a chance to play opposite Ingrid Bergman in Casablanca. But some Hollywood moguls don't consider him a romantic hero. Bogart's all right as a private eye, they say, but who'd want to watch him in love scenes? Bogart will prove that they are wrong.
All right. I tried to reason with you. I tried everything. Now I want those letters. Get them for me.
No.
For the last time, put them on the table.
If Laszlo and the cause mean so much to you, you won't stop at anything. All right, I'll make it easier for you. Go ahead and shoot.
The day you left Paris. If you knew what I went through. If you knew how much I loved you. How much I still love you.
Bogart's superb performance in Casablanca makes him overnight, and to his own surprise, one of the biggest stars in motion pictures. In 1945, as a new screen idol, Humphrey Bogart stars in a memorable film, To Have and Have Not, with an unknown but high-voltage young actress, Lauren Bacall. Bogart is intrigued. On the screen or off, he has never come across anyone like Bacall.
It's even better when you help. You know you don't have to act with me, Steve. You don't have to say anything, and you don't have to do anything. Not a thing. Oh, maybe just whistle. You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? You just put your lips together and blow.
On the day of their wedding at the home of a friend, Arthur Louis Bromfield, Bogart is 45, Miss Bacall is 20. She was born in New York, and years ago, as a schoolgirl, she had spent long hours in movie theaters admiring tough guy Humphrey Bogart. Now she wears a tiny gold whistle, a present from him. It is inscribed, "If you need anything, just whistle." They will have 2 children, and for the rest of his life, Bogart will have a strong and almost old-fashioned sense of home and family. At the height of his career, Bogart's passions are the sea and his sleek racing yawl, the Santana. Says one friend, here Bogey could escape all that he detested about Hollywood. The parties, the phonies, the compromises. Bogart knew that Hollywood had misused his talent in too many shoddy films. But his boat was another world, a clean world. As one of the finest skippers on the West Coast, Bogart frequently pays tribute to his devotion to the sea.
Unless you really understand the water and understand the reason for being on it and understand the love of sailing and the feeling of quietness and solitude, you don't really belong on a boat anyway. I think Hemingway said one time the sea was the last free place on earth.
Bogart now earns nearly $500,000 a year, and from these heights, as one of the screen's giants, he delights in outraging Hollywood. I'm what people call antisocial, he boasts. They do not invite me to their homes because they are afraid I might say the wrong thing to Louis B. Mayer, Darryl Zanuck, or Jack Warner, which of course I would. As a dedicated actor, Bogart over the years has carefully developed his range and power, and now he astonishes even his admirers with a series of brilliant performances. In Treasure of Sierra Madre with Tim Holt, Bogart captures the horror of a man twisted by his lust for gold.
I know you for what you are. For a long time I've had my suspicions about you. Now I know I've been right.
Suspicions are you talking about?
Oh, you're not putting anything over on me. I see right through you. For a long time you've had it in your mind to bump me off at the first good opportunity and bury me out here in the bush like a dog. So you could take not only the old man's goods, but mine in the bargain. And when you get to Durango safely, you'll have a big laugh, won't you? Thinking how dumb the old man and I were.
If you think like that, there's nothing to do but to tie you up every night.
I'll tell you what. I'll make you a little bet. 3 times 35 is 105. I'll bet you $105,000 you go to sleep before I do.
Does it serve any useful purpose to have him testify?
In The Caine Mutiny, Bogart is electrifying as he conveys the psychological disintegration of the tyrannical Captain Quigg.
Now, there's no need for that. I know exactly what he'll tell you, lies. I tried to run the ship properly with the book, but they fought me at every turn. The crew wanted to walk around with their shirt tails hanging out. That's all right. Let them. Take the tow line. Defective equipment, no more, no less. But they encouraged the crew to go around scoffing at me and spreading wild rumors about steaming in circles and then old Yellowstain. I was to blame for Lieutenant Merrick's incompetence and poor seamanship. Lieutenant Merrick was the perfect officer, but not Captain Quigg. Ah, but the strawberries. That's where I had them. They laughed at me and made jokes. But I proved beyond the shadow of a doubt and with geometric logic that a duplicate key to the wardrobe icebox did exist. And I'd have produced that key if they hadn't pulled the Caine out of action. I know now they were only trying to protect some fellow officer. And naturally, I can only cover these things from memory. If I've left anything out, why, just ask me specific questions and I'll be glad to answer them one by one.
In 1952, Bogart stars in John Huston's The African Queen. As a gin-soaked river tramp who falls in love with Katharine Hepburn, Bogart reveals a surprisingly masterful flair for comedy. And he wins an Academy Award for this, perhaps his finest screen performance.
Yes, Mr. Olnott?
All this foolish talk about the Louisa going down the river.
What do you mean?
I mean, we ain't gonna do nothing of the sort.
Of course we are. What an absurd idea.
What an absurd idea. What an absurd idea. Lady, you got 10 absurd ideas for my one.
You agreed to go.
I never did. I never agreed to nothing.
You are a liar, Mr. Olnott. And what is worse, you are a coward.
Ooh, coward yourself. You ain't no lady. No, miss. That's what my poor old mother would say to you. My poor old mother would hear you. Whose boat is this, anyway? I asked you on board because I was sorry for you on account of you losing your brother and all. What you get for feeling sorry for people. Well, I ain't sorry no more, you crazy psalm-singing, skitty old maid.
Bogart has come a long way from the insecure Broadway juvenile, the trigger man of the B pictures, the disillusioned veteran of the divorce courts. He has become unmistakably his own man, and in his face there is an unstated challenge. Take me for what I am, or not at all. Bogart has earned riches and fame, and he has learned how to take them in his stride. He once said, "Live each moment as well as you can, one moment at a time, and perhaps when you put all the moments together, you'll have something worth remembering." But now, when he is most fulfilled as an actor and as a man, Bogart learns that he has cancer. Bogart faces it with characteristic bravado. He hides his suffering from his family and friends. They hide their sorrow from him. And though he is dying, Bogart and his friends gallantly pretend that there is a tomorrow. And they even make plans for a picture that they know will never be made. Bogart remains Bogart to the end. Humphrey Bogart dies on January 14, 1957. He was 57 years old. His death is felt as an irreplaceable loss. He had belonged to a handful of great stars of his generation, who gave the screen a special vigor and excitement and humanity. Now, this handful is diminished. Bogart is laid to rest with a memento that he had presented to his wife years before, inscribed, "If you need anything, just whistle." At the funeral service is displayed a scale model of Bogart's beloved racing yawl, the Santana, and the eulogy is delivered by his friend, John Huston.
To begin with, he was endowed with the greatest gift a man can have, talent. The whole world came to recognize it. Bogey got all that he asked for out of life and more. We have no reason to feel any sorrow for him, only for ourselves for having lost him. He is quite irreplaceable. There'll never be another like him.